Hello and welcome to the Martini Shot. Today we'll be reviewing Backrooms and getting lost in a creamy lemon cocktail called Lemon Space. This will be a tart yet soft drink that draws on the off-putting yet weirdly comfortable setting of the Backrooms. So in a cocktail shaker, you're going to need half an ounce of simple syrup, half an ounce of heavy cream, and half an ounce of fresh lemon juice. And for our alcoholic ingredients, you're going to be adding 3/4 ounces of limoncello, and our main spirit, 1.5 ounces of gin. Throw ice in your shaker and shake to chill. Then strain the drink into a chilled coupe glass. Finally, for a little aromatic touch, we're going to grate some lemon zest on the top. And there you go, now you have the Lemon Space. Now that we have our drink, let's get right into the review. So in the last review, we talked about Obsession, a stellar horror film from yet another YouTuber turned director, Curry Barker. This has been a growing trend over the years, and now we get to talk about yet another instance of this phenomenon. Except this one might be the one that makes me want to end it all. In a good way. Kane Parsons broke onto the YouTube scene with The Backrooms, a vibey, found footage style horror series centered around empty subliminal spaces. Parsons created this series when he was just a teenager, and it became such an online success that A24 allowed him to make a feature-length adaptation of his series with a much higher budget and some of the best actors working today. This kid is 20, 10 years younger than me, and here I am bitching and moaning on the internet. But I'm honestly super happy for this growing trend of online creators transitioning to film. It's allowing creative minds with actual ideas and ambitions to take a crack at the box office, and it's the kind of shake-up the scene has been needing for a minute. So, how does Backrooms compare to the latest slew of online creator horror films?
I found something.
Backrooms is absolutely a showcase of Parsons' ability as a world builder and tone maestro. The same somber sense of dread and amazement that originated in his short film series is carried over to the big screen with incredible effect. The recreation of the droning, outwardly spaces of yesteryear make for a haunting, astonishing journey through a world that feels familiar, but only just. The scenes taking place in the Backrooms are filled with ample tension that put you right in the shoes of the characters as they delve deeper into a madhouse of nostalgia and bygone eras. But while this film is undoubtedly a showcase of Parsons' strengths, it's also quite clear where he stands to improve as a narrative storyteller. While the vibes, setup, and execution are all solid, it's those elements that flow in between them that ultimately makes this feel less impactful than it ultimately could. As much as I appreciate the attempt at trying to tie the Backrooms to a greater theme of memory and change, a lot of the reflections on it ultimately feel a little hollow, with the film having to explain its themes verbatim to you through dialogue between an underwhelming Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renate Reinsve. Additionally, the third act kind of moves away from the ambient horror of the first two acts, kind of feeling like the film overplayed its hand and didn't stick the landing as much as I'd hoped. Even still, I think fans of the original series are really gonna love this, while still finding ways to unsettle those who aren't as chronically online.
Good day.
Anyone there?
There is no Backrooms without the Backrooms, the sprawling, off-kilter world of 1900s reflections that feel alien yet familiar. Originally created in Blender in Parsons' prior series, the world is expertly brought to life, making for what I would wager to be one of the most fun-looking sets to be on. Parsons manages to capture a world that feels massive, yet claustrophobic, enticing, yet off-putting. All the scenes set in this world hidden beyond our own is a wonder to see on screen, and it's made all the more haunting by a very obvious understanding of tone and pace. Parsons knows exactly how to get the most out of this world, navigating through it at just the right speed that builds curiosity and anxiety over what lays around the corner. It makes for some of the most compelling found footage scenes I've witnessed in a minute, and while the scenes presented not through an in-world camera aren't always as scary, it still sells the maze as the sprawling space of uncertainty it should be. Leading the journey through the Backrooms is Clark, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, a recently separated, angry furniture store manager who stumbles across the hidden world in the lower level of his store. He's going through the therapy of Dr. Mary Klein, played by Renate Reinsve, trying to get to the source of his tendency to ruin everything he touches and take accountability for his rage. A good enough character structure to get the narrative going, though not one that ultimately leads to anything worthwhile. Truth be told, both of these terrific actors feel misused here, not really playing to their strengths or giving them something all that meaty to deliver on. We spend the most time with Clark, whose spiraling the film rushes through to get to its madhouse climax that doesn't feel all that earned. Ejiofor does the most with what he's given, managing to at least be entertaining even if his characterization feels like it's missing pieces to itself. I've really enjoyed Reinsve in The Worst Person in the World and Sentimental Value, but she sort of just feels out of place here. Those aforementioned performances are very grounded, very reined in, and I don't think her style really aligns with what this film was going for. Her character of Mary is carrying her own baggage of having grown up with a mother paranoid of the outside world, but like Clark, the deeper aspects of this character don't ultimately get explored through the lens of the setup. Reinsve does fairly well in scenes that involve sitting with metaphysical despair and uncertainty, but she almost feels like a fish out of water when thrown into more traditional horror setups. I don't think this is a complete knock on her acting ability, it more just shows how the film kind of goes from being one thing to another, and that transition isn't a total home run.
Hello?
I do recognize that by having someone like Parsons taking on the directing role, the film avoids a lot of pitfalls modern horror movies fall into. For one, you can actually see what's going on. The uncomfortableness of the Backrooms comes from its overexposure, and I'm glad that was carried over, because you just know there was a director out there that wanted to make it all dark as night. The film also refrains from over-explaining and taking away the mystique of the area as well. There's no real definitive answers given to what it is outside of what the other characters interpret, and I like that. It makes it feel as if you're discovering it alongside them, formulating your own theories and reasonings. I almost kind of wish the film went a little vaguer, as it's a concept that can honestly speak for itself purely through the visuals. But as a horror movie, the terror of the film mostly comes from the uncanny visuals and a hindrance on drawing too much attention to what you should be scared of. There's a couple found footage sequences here that completely envelop you and unnerve you based on what you see, rather than by scripted jump scare noises that tell you what you should be frightened of. The third act definitely departs from this quite a bit, and while it's not nearly as frightening as the prior acts, it still turns out to be a good time. I think my biggest critique of this comes down to the script, which I still feel is a much better outcome than what I was actually expecting. Like I said before, the themes of the film don't entirely make themselves known in the cleanest fashion through the narrative, so some heavy-handed therapy dialogue is employed to really drive this stuff home. It makes a lot of the writing come off kind of clunky, but there's a humor to it that I certainly appreciated. I just wish there was more to take away from those underlying elements here, because the central idea behind the Backrooms is quite interesting. I read it as almost a haunting reminder to the spaces that dominated the cusp of the new millennia. Large malls and office spaces define the aesthetic of the time, and now to see them in such a mangled, mistakenly remembered setting is almost like seeing the remnants of an empire. All we're left with is the memory of what once was, but even our memories can't be trusted 100%. The film's narratives and the two main characters' journeys feel a bit disconnected from that idea, but I will confide that actual thought was put into this film more than most creepypasta movies would ever allow. Looking at you, Slenderman.
Clark, where are we?
Horror has always been the proving grounds for directors getting their start, and that trend seems to be continuing tenfold. Backrooms is an incredibly solid piece of online horror brought to the big screen that has a patience and maturity to it that some might not be expecting and more might not even like. But Kane Parsons has proven that he wants to tell stories, not appease armies of Roblox players, and I've got to tip my hat to him. I think the young director is right on the cusp of making something truly great, and if he feels so inclined, I'm sure he'll have quite a prosperous future in film if he sticks with it. Definitely give this one a watch if unconventional horror interests you, and remember to take a chance on small creators who truly have passion. Remember that next time a guy on the street tries to get you to read his screenplay. It's me. I'm the guy. For my rating, I'm feeling 3 balls of stuffing out of 5, and I feel like this might have the potential to go higher on a rewatch. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Martini Shot. If you saw Backrooms, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. And if you like what you saw here and would like to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me across all social media channels. Those links are down in the description below. And if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. Until next time, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.